When the love of his life is taken away, a time traveler transported to the early years of the Ming dynasty vows to become a high-ranking general, worthy of his beloved's hand, equipped with a system that allows him to level up and acquire new skills. Zhu Xiang's journey to becoming a god-tier general is about to begin. In the peaceful Beiping prefecture of Ansha town, Zhu Xiang buys some rouge and face powder from his aunt, prompting her to tease him about whether he's buying it for his lover again. She playfully asks when he plans to marry her, complimenting him on his impeccable taste and noting how perfectly matched they are. Grinning, Zhu Xiang assures her that based on her advice, he will undoubtedly marry Jin and they'll have a few chubby babies. After bidding his aunt goodbye, Zhu Xiang leaves with a sense of warmth. Meanwhile, his aunt reminisces about how it is a pity his grandmother had passed away 2 years ago, missing the chance to witness his marriage and the joy of great-grandchildren. 8 years ago, Zhu Xiang time traveled to the early years of the Ming dynasty and opened a small liquor shop in a town near the Beiping prefecture. The shop, left behind by his grandmother, is something he treasures dearly. 2 years ago, he saved a girl named Shu Jin outside of town, and they have been living together ever since. However, Zhu Xiang notices that Jin has never spoken about her family. Zhu Xiang calls out to Jin as he returns home, announcing that he bought her some robe and powder. However, something feels off. Jin would happily rush out to greet him, so he wonders why there is no response this time. He goes into the house and sees Jin weeping. When Zhu Xiang asks Jin what's going on, she initially says it's nothing. Just then, she reveals that her family has found her, and they are coming tomorrow to bring her back. My boy's free trial just ended. Zhu Xiang is shocked, but tries to see the positive side, suggesting that it might be good for her to reunite with her family. Suddenly, Jin hugs him tightly and tells him he doesn't understand the situation. She explains that she might not be able to see him anymore after this, and she offers herself to him. Zhu Xiang, taken aback, says that he can't do something so vulgar, especially since they aren't married yet. He insists that they should wait until they are married, but Jin fears it will be too late by then. They still ended up banging anyway. As they lay in the dark, Zhu Xiang gently tells Jin that she has never mentioned her family in the past 2 years, but he could tell she missed them. He asks why she seems so hesitant, now that her family is coming to take her back. Jin doesn't answer directly, but instead asks if he would come looking for her if she were to leave. Zhu Xiang firmly replies that he would bring all the betrothal gifts to her house and ask for her hand. Curious, Zhu Xiang asks if there is something she's hiding from him. Just then, Jin reveals that her real name is Miao Jin, and her home is in Yingtian. She explains that her father is the Duke of Wei, appointed by the Imperial court. Damn, wifey just dropped the bomb after 2 years. Zhu Xiang is startled because the Duke of Wei is Shu Da, the #1 founding minister of the Ming dynasty, making Shu Mao Jin the second daughter of Zhu Da and the younger sister of the future Empress Shu. Jin continues, explaining that her elder sister was married off to Beiping. 2 years ago, when her sister came to visit, Jin ran into trouble but was saved by Zhu Xiang. Grateful, she decided to stay with him. However, that morning, her 2 older brothers found her and informed her that their father was seriously ill and wanted to see her one last time. As a dutiful daughter, she couldn't refuse, but having been missing for 2 years, she feared they would not let her leave again. Once she returned, Jin pleads with Zhu Xiang to come find her, declaring that she would follow him regardless of her family's wishes. Moved, Zhu Xiang hugs her tightly and tells her she doesn't need to elope with him. He assures her that he would never force her to choose between him and her family. Zhu Xiang promises to achieve a social status that matches hers, so her family will have no objections, vowing to marry her openly and grandly. Sure, like you'll make that happen. The next day, people from the Ming dynasty arrive at Zhu Xiang's place, drawing the curiosity of the townspeople. They speculate about the visitors, noting that Zhu Xiang has only lived with his grandmother and a housekeeper, making the presence of such prestigious guests puzzling. Spotting the flag with the word Shu, they wonder if these visitors are related to Jin. Meanwhile, Zhu Xiang invites the guests inside, offering them lunch. However, the visitors remain silent. Shu Zhengshou, the 4th son of Shu Da, rudely declines the offer and informs Jin that her 2nd and 4th brothers have met her conditions, and she must return home obediently. Jin sadly agrees, but turns to Zhu Xiang, asking him to come find her. Zhu Xiyang reassures her that he will, and he promises to fetch her within a year. He then encourages her to fulfill her filial duties to her father. With a grieving look, Jean Er obediently heads to the carriage. As Jean Er gets taken away, Xu Zhengshou mentions to Zhu Xiyang that he has heard about the past 2 years from their little sister, and acknowledges his contribution to saving his sister. To show gratitude, he offers 300 batches of high-quality silk and 1,000 gold, ensuring Zhu Xiyang it is enough for a lifetime. However, Zhu Xiyang declines, stating that he didn't save Jean Er for material rewards. He also declares his intention to bring betrothal gifts one day to ask for Jean Er's hand in marriage. Enraged, Xu Zhengshou accuses Zhu Xiyang of misunderstanding the situation. He asserts that Jean Er's status is far beyond Zhu Xiyang's reach as a mere merchant, advising him to abandon his wishful thinking. He insists Zhu Xiyang take the gifts and consider it the end of his relationship with Jean Er. Zhu Xiyang remains steadfast, refusing the gifts more firmly, vowing not to give up on Jean Er. He then orders Xu Zhengshou to take his things and get lost. Furious, Xu Zhengshou threatens Zhu Xiyang with his sword, but Zhu Xiyang remains unfazed. Xu Zhengshou demands that Zhu Xiyang kneel in their presence, as his family is a dukedom and should be revered. He believes that a commoner like Zhu Xiyang should kneel and welcome him and his men. He continues, saying that Zhu Xiyang failed to appreciate their kindness, so respect is no longer required. As Xu Zhengshou keeps his sword against Zhu Xiyang's head, the latter only says that he will soon have the proper etiquette for the Xu family seniors when he arrives with the betrothal gifts. However, as for Xu Zhengshou, Zhu Xiyang claims that he won't be getting any respect from him. Xu Zhengshou's face turns red as he goes on a rampage, claiming that he'll cut off Zhu Xiyang's leg if he's still unwilling to kneel. Just then, Xu Mingshu, the second son of Xu Da, intervenes and tells his brother to step back. He acknowledges that Zhu Xiyang and Jean Er's feelings are normal, but emphasizes the vast difference in their social status. He insists that Jean Er should marry someone of high rank, making a relationship with Zhu Xiyang impossible. Xu Ying advises Zhu Xiyang to forget about Jean Er and live his life sensibly. He also warns that the 2 years Jean Er spent with him could ruin her reputation. If it became known, this only suggests that the Xu family might get rid of him if ever the information gets leaked. Zhu Xiyang asks if he's threatening him, but Xu Yingshu only says that it depends on how he handles the situation. Xu Yingshu hopes that this will be their last encounter, and as for the gifts, he claims that their family never takes back what they gave away. He tells Zhu Xiyang to handle it as he wishes, and then he leaves with his men. Enraged and speechless, Zhu Xiyang struggles to contain his frustration. However, his auntie suddenly approaches him, asking if he is okay, and if the visitors are there to cause trouble. The man on the right reassures him, saying that if they bully him, the villagers will support him. Zhu Xiyang sighs, apologizing for causing concern and assuring them he's fine. He then tells them to take the silks and gold and share them with everyone, since he can't move them on his own. However, one of the men asks why they should take his things, when they could simply help him move them. Apologizing for the trouble, Zhu Xiyang resorts to inviting them to share a meal with him. Later that day, it starts raining, but this doesn't stop Zhu Xiyang from visiting his grandmother's grave. He's really having a moment here. He says he wanted to marry Jean Er and live peacefully for the rest of their lives, just like his grandmother encouraged him to before she died. However, he didn't expect that Jean Er was actually Miao Jin, the daughter of the esteemed founding minister Xu Da. When Xu Da dies, he will be conferred as the king of Zhongshan, making Jean Er true princess. Zhu Xiyang's identity, compared to her, is like heaven and earth. He further says that her brothers humiliated him and prevented him from seeing his beloved Jean Er ever again. However, she is his wife now, and gave up on her. This makes him no different from a beast. Reflecting on his situation, Zhu Xiyang feels that as a merchant, he is relegated to the lowest rung of society, unable to pursue scholarly exams or wear whatever they want. Even if he had a vast amount of money, the aloof Xu family still wouldn't accept him as their equal. Right now, there is only one way to change his identity, and that is to enlist and serve in the army. He can only hope that his grandmother will forgive him if he dies. When he does, he will be buried beside her, serving him forever to repay for her sacrifices and raising him. However, if he succeeds, he will bring Jean Er back. Suddenly, a system appears before Zhu Xiyang, congratulating him and announcing the activation of a battle-level upgrade system. The devil works hard, but Grandma works harder. It offers him the chance to compete against the world and change his destiny. Shocked, Zhu Xiyang accepts, driven by the need to prove himself. He can't believe a system finally appeared, so he has to take his chances and work hard after being humiliated. He vows to Jin that he will come for her and let her witness his path of destiny. That evening, Zhu Xiyang goes home and is greeted by Uncle Lin, who has already prepared him a warm dinner. Zhu Xiyang's grandma took Uncle Lin when he was homeless, and since then, he has taken care of Zhu Xiyang. To Zhu Xiyang, Uncle Lin is more precious than a real blood relative. Just then, Zhu Xiyang shares his decision to enlist in the army, but Uncle Lin is against it. The old man claims that swords and blades are blind, so he shouldn't take such a risk. However, Zhu Xiyang explains that Jin has been taken by her family, and that his only chance to change his status is to earn merit in the army. Furious, he expresses his resolve to no longer live a life of humiliation and to live a life full of accomplishments. Seeing Zhu Xiyang's determination, Uncle Lin reluctantly agrees to his plan. Just then, Zhu Xiyang hands Mr. Lin a liquor recipe he has been researching, instructing him to safeguard the store in his absence. He adds that the recipe is the only thing that his grandma left, so he must take care of it. He also promises to return one day with Jin and take care of Uncle Lin in his old age. Meanwhile, Uncle Lin tells Zhu Xiyang not to worry because he will not only protect the liquor store, but he'll make it bigger and earn huge profits. He also vows to take revenge on the Shu family for humiliating Zhu Xiyang. Later on, at the Kami Town's army recruitment point, Zhu Xiyang enlists in the army. Suddenly, the system appears again, confirming that Zhu Xiyang's mission to enlist is complete. He also receives a reward of basic internal strength at yellow rank, a chi increasing pill, and 100 experience points. Now, the system is giving him a new issue, which is to level up by killing enemies. This will allow him to obtain experience points, and the more he kills, the more rewards he gets. He also has another mission, which is to get promoted to nobility. Every increase in official ranking will enable him to obtain corresponding rewards. Zhu Xiyang realizes that leveling up by executing enemies is his trump card. With this ability, the battlefield becomes a stepping stone for him to rise to nobility. Determined, he silently vows to the Zhu family that they will see him rise. Just then, the system appears again, notifying Zhu Xiyang that he has entered an army camp and can now select a class. He has two choices: the warrior class, which focuses on tempering the physique, refining true chi, achieving perfection through martial Dao, potentially embarking on the path of gods, and punching through mountains and rivers; or the magician class, which focuses on tempering the mind, refining internal breath, searching for the immortal Dao, and embarking on the path of immortality. Zhu Xiyang asks the system about the differences between the classes and whether he can achieve immortality if he chooses the warrior class. The system explains that warriors emphasize physical training, while magicians emphasize mental training. Future rewards will correspond with the chosen class, but warriors can achieve immortality at higher levels. Realizing that his ability to execute enemies is crucial, Zhu Xiyang decides to choose the warrior class. Being a nerd on the battlefield is not very handy, you know. The system informs him that the class has been activated and he receives 1 cubic meter of warrior's storage space. With everything set, he immediately uses the chi increasing pill to cultivate basic internal strength, making him feel a powerful force in his Dan Tian and an increase in his strength. Zhu Xiyang gets so overwhelmed by his newfound strength that he feels like he can lift a cow. Suddenly, the system congratulates him for his current stats. Meanwhile, General Zhang Fu of the Vanguard Army oversees the last day of army recruitment. What's he so mad for? He asks a subordinate how the recruitment is going, and the subordinate reports that they have recruited 880,000 people from the Beiping prefecture alone, far surpassing their target of 50,000. The subordinate excitedly claims that this will bring joy to their Highness, the Prince of Yan. However, General Zhang Fu is skeptical, emphasizing that sending weak soldiers to the battlefield would be more of a burden than an asset. He wonders how many people will be useful among the 8,000 soldiers they just recruited. The subordinate tenses up, and he agrees with Zhang Fu. As General Zhang Fu gazes at the soldiers below, he asks himself how many of them will be filtered out to become elites. Just then, he orders his subordinate to bring the new recruits to the army camp. The subordinate follows the order, and at the camp, General Zhang Fu addresses the recruits, warning them that passing registration does not make them valiant soldiers right away. They will have to go to the front lines and kill enemies, but this isn't something that ordinary people can do. They must still pass a test of strength by lifting a stone pot and holding it for 5 breaths to become soldiers under the Prince of Yan. Those who fail will be dismissed immediately, as the Beiping army does not accept weaklings. Alright, bro, take a chill pill. One recruit says that the stone pot is enormous, and he estimates that it weighs more than 100 caddies. Another notes that holding it for 5 breaths is extremely difficult. The recruits claim that one can barely hold it for 3 breaths, let alone 5. They all knew that the recruitment for the Beiping army was strict, but they didn't expect it to be this strict. Just then, the general's subordinate announces that everyone should take turns in taking the test. And so, everyone does as they're told. Some succeed, like one man who qualifies by holding it for 5 breaths, while others fail instantly, unable to lift it for even 1 breath. Finally, it's Zhu Xiyang's turn, and he's about to see the lengths of his abilities. Before Zhu Xiyang starts, the general's subordinate tells him not to push himself if he can't do it, because he doesn't want to be responsible for any injuries. Just then, Zhu Xiyang lifts the stone pot with just one hand, raising it in the air for everyone to see. The men are in shock, and they can barely believe their eyes. Zhu Xiyang didn't even use all his strength to lift the stone pot, which weighs more than 100 caddies. He estimates that if he used all his strength, he could lift around 300 caddies, and this is only at level 1, without breaking a sweat. Zhu Xiyang asks the subordinate if the time is up, and the latter says it is, and he passes the test. As Zhu Xiyang drops the pot, he reassures the man that he won't get injured lifting such weight and tells him not to worry. Suddenly, General Zhang Fu walks into the area and calls out to Zhu Xiyang. Zhu Xiyang immediately bows and he wonders what the general needs from him. General Zhang Fu says that he noticed Zhu Xiyang didn't use all his strength when lifting the 100-cat stone pot, so he wants to know exactly how strong he is. Suddenly, Zhu Xiyang asks what position he would be assigned in the army if his strength is high, and the general replies that he will be assigned to the archer squad. Zhu Xiyang, aware of the dangers on the battlefield, believes that archers are much safer compared to close combat soldiers. Wanting to fulfill his mission and stay alive at the same time, he approaches to lift 2 stone pots and happily asks the general if he will be able to join the archer squad with this strength. Amazed, the general acknowledges Zhu Xiyang's strength and says joining the archer squad shouldn't be a problem for him. However, the general offers him an even better choice: to join his protection squad. After hearing the offer, one recruit comments that the general's background isn't that simple because a new recruit is actually getting a chance to join his protection squad. They believe that Zhu Xiyang's luck is too good, and it makes them envious of his strength. Not only is the salary of the protection quad higher, but they're also safer because they aren't on the front lines. Just then, Zhu Xiyang thanks the general for his kindness, but he doesn't accept the offer. He mentions that wants to join the archer squad to go to battle and kill the enemies. Surprised, the general wonders why Zhu Xiyang is begging to go into battle when everyone else is trying to avoid it. He then asks the young man for his reasons behind this choice. Zhu Xiyang humbly replies that he wants to be promoted to nobility and stand out among everyone else. The general is impressed, as this is what he expects from a man from the great Ming dynasty. He then orders his subordinate to write down Zhu Xiyang's request and assign him to the archer squad of the main army. The general promises that he will remember Zhu Xiyang's name and assures him that the Ming army rewards all merits. If Zhu Xiyang accomplishes any meritorious deeds, he could definitely be promoted to nobility. He looks forward to Zhu Xiyang's performance, and Zhu Xiyang thanks the general for his appreciation. Just then, the general orders his subordinate to bring the qualified new recruits to the camp, dispatch the fees for the unqualified, and dismiss them right away. With a firm stance, his subordinate honors his commands. As the general leaves, the new recruits start gossiping about Zhu Xiyang. They're all baffled that he turned down the general's offer, because it's a very rare opportunity, one that you will never get, even if you beg for it. One recruit comments that young people are just too ignorant, while another thinks that passing the chance to be the personal bodyguard for General Zhang Fu means Zhu Xiyang has no idea how big the opportunity he is missing. However, it turns out that Zhu Xiyang heard everything that these old geezers said, and he is stunned to learn that the general is actually General Zhang Fu. He knows Zhang Fu is a prominent minister with remarkable achievements in the Jingnan Rebellion, and his father, Zhang Yu, was the top general under the Prince of Yan, Zhu Di. Zhu Xiang didn't expect to meet such a legendary figure from history so soon. It is currently the 23rd year of the Hongwu era, and the Crown Prince, Zhu Biao, is set to die suddenly in 2 years, an event that will trigger the Jingnan Rebellion, which will result in the contest for the Imperial throne. Now that Zhu Xiang has joined the Beiping army, he vows to rise in rank and accumulate merits. When the Jingnan Rebellion is finally over, he will surely become an official. If he becomes the strongest general under Zhu Di, the Shu family will never dare to look down on him ever again. Meanwhile, in the palace of the great Ming Dynasty Emperor, Zhu Yuanzhang, a man reports to him that the Ministry of Justice has concluded its investigation into Hu Weiyang's case. Hu Weiyang is not only tyrannical and unruly within the government, he also intercepts memorials and rules over the imperial government. Not only did he deceive the emperor, but he also beguiled many of the government officials into corruption and abused the law. Most critically, he secretly allied with Beiyuan country Wu, intending to incite them by sending foreign aid and plotting a rebellion. Lu Zhongheng, Tang Shenzong, Fiyu Chu, and the others are its comrades. The man continues, saying that after all these years of using the bait to catch a big fish, it finally succeeded. Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang is enraged, thinking that a bastard like Hu Weiyang believes he's untouchable. He tolerated him for so long just to wait for an opportunity, and now he's plotting a rebellion. Furious, Zhu Yuanzhang declares that anyone even slightly involved in Hu Weiyang's case will be beheaded and displayed publicly. However, the man informs his imperial father that tens of thousands are linked to the case. However, before the man can even finish, Zhu Yuanzhang interrupts, asking what the laws are for if they're not going to honor it. Just then, the emperor reminds the man that he must have a standard on the things he can forgive and those that he cannot. Zhu Yuanzhang acknowledges that his son is skilled, but he's too kind. The emperor then advises him that he cannot rule the world with excessive kindness. Additionally, Beiyuan, previously Shu Da, crippled them, and they still dare to be so irrational at this time. It looks like the emperor has no other choice but to exterminate them. Other than eliminating the comrades of Hu Weiyang to intimidate the others, the emperor also plans on using the extermination of Beiyuan. As a warning to his other enemies, he wants them to have a look at the price of conspiring against the great Ming dynasty. Just then, the emperor tells his eldest son to inform Lao Si that they already gave him plenty of time to prepare, and it's enough. He wants food and supplies assembled, because they're going to Beiyuan. Once it arrives, he wants to dispatch an army to exterminate Beiyuan. Out of nowhere, a man rushes into the palace and informs the emperor that the Duke of Wei is near death. Zhu Yuanzhang is shocked and orders the Duke of Wei to be conferred as the Prince of Zhongshan and to establish a minister's shrine within the Imperial Temple. That evening, the emperor visits the shrine of Lady Xiang Ying. He shares that their brother Shu Da is gone, leaving him grieving for another loss. It's already been 8 years since Xiang Ying left him, and he misses her deeply. Even now, he still thinks about the place and how they used to play together as kids. Zhu Yuanzhang suddenly reminisces his memories with his late wife and his grandson, Xiang Ying. Back then, the little boy was very skilled in archery, which made him proud. Elsewhere, a recruit manages to hit a bullseye. He thanks Zhu Xiang for his effective teachings, and the other recruits bow to him as well. Suddenly, a recruit asks Zhu Xiang to demonstrate his talent by showing them the triple arrow shot, which is rumored to be god tier. After giving in to the peer pressure, Zhu Xiang agrees and successfully performs the triple arrow shot, astonishing everyone. Zhu Xiang shocked them so good that they lost their hairline. Seeing his work, Zhu Xiang thinks that after 3 months of training, his archery has advanced to the stage of a triple arrow shot. Just then, he checks his leveling progress and finds he has gained 20 experience points in archery, reaching level 2 with level 3 archery skills. Suddenly, the men start crowding Zhu Xiang, noting that not only did he perform a triple arrow shot, but he also split the arrows of those before him. One guy wonders when their camp had such a skillful sharpshooter, while one guy announces to everyone that the superb archer they just witnessed is Zhu Xiang, a recruit who only joined them 3 months ago. Just then, Chief Qian approaches Zhu Xiang and says it's been 8 years since he joined, and he is also considered a sharpshooter. With a chuckle, he puts his hand on Zhu Xiang's shoulder and says that he didn't expect to be overtaken by a kid who just joined. Zhu Xiang, on the other hand, laughs at his comment and teases him about being envious. However, This earns him a bonk in the head. Chief Qian then reminds him not to get too cocky. "Geez, old man, take a joke." Suddenly, Chief Qian tells the men to stop messing around and gather in the military drill ground, because a big shot is coming. Shortly after, everyone gathers before the Prince of Yan, Zhu Di. Meanwhile, Zhu Xiyang notices that the camp has been assembling quite a lot of food and supplies these past few days. Zhu Di also came to visit, which only means that they might be heading to the battlefield anytime soon. Meanwhile, the man beside the prince asks if he is confident in the campaign towards Beiyuan this time. The prince replies that his father-in-law and General Lan Yu have already severely injured Beiyuan, and they are just struggling at death's door. Now, his imperial father has also sent an experienced general to oversee that he is naturally confident. Prince Zhu Di claims that after this battle, the names of the surviving remnants of Beiyuan shall become history. He also vows to capture the traitor alive and present him to the emperor. Just then, Zhu Di announces to everyone present that he is the Prince of Yan, their commander. He claims that the surviving remnants of Beiyuan were unruly, killing their citizens near the boundaries and taking their commoners as prisoners. They are truly unforgivable, and this is why he has summoned everyone on that fateful day. Drawing his sword for special effects, Zhu Di claims that they will exterminate Beiyuan for the great Ming dynasty and their commoners. The soldiers are enraged, and they seek to kill their enemies. Now that's public speaking right there. Zhu Di adds that he will reward all the soldiers present with merits after the war is over. However, anyone who steals merits will be executed. With this, he orders all troops to return to their camp because they will depart first thing in the morning. Meanwhile, Zhou Xiyang smiles, excited to finally enter the battlefield. Suddenly, the system activates a killing attribute for Zhu Xiyang, allowing him to gain experience points and level up from killing enemies. If a soldier under his command kills an enemy, he will receive 10% of their XP stunned by this revelation. Zhu Xiyang, recently promoted to a minor flag bearer, due to his archery skills, now leads 10 men, giving him a unique advantage. Right now, he's just a minor flag bearer, but there are still 100-man squads, 1,000-man squads, and even higher positions. The more soldiers he leads, the more experience points he can get. The next day, a soldier reports to General Zhang Fu that the border town of Beiyuan lies 10 li ahead. Additionally, it's an empty straight path without any enemy soldiers and defensive structures. Zhang Fu is skeptical, as he believes that it's impossible for Wang Baobao to not have taken any measures. Because of this, he orders his troops to take a defensive formation and proceed cautiously. He also reminds them to prepare to take on enemies at any moment. While the rest of the soldiers spread the commands, Zhu Xiyang's excitement builds. Unbeknownst to them, the enemy is watching their moves from the trees above. One soldier informs his general that the Ming army has put out their formation, which means that they may have been discovered. However, Timer, the Beiyuan vanguard general, refuses to believe that because he knows that their stealth is flawless. He guesses that the Ming army must have smelled the breath of danger and put up their guard just in case. He believes that even rabbits can escape their fate of becoming a wolf's meal, no matter how vigilant it is. With this, Timer leads the attack and urges his men to follow. Meanwhile, birds start to flee from the nearby forest, signifying that the enemy is approaching. True enough, Timer's men rush towards the Ming army, eager to kill them all. Seeing this, General Zhang Fu commands his archers to release their arrows. However, Timer's men only laugh at their lame attack, calling them grass eaters who don't even have the strength to shoot arrows. One of the men claims that he will teach these Ming soldiers how it's done. However, before he can even boast anything else, he suddenly gets hit by an arrow, which was fired by none other than Zhu Xiyang. Having killed one Yuan soldier, Zhu Xiyang gains 5 XP. The fight continues, and Zhu Xiyang accumulates points from his own kills and those from the men that he trained. As the Yuan army's spirit weakens, General Zhang Fu commands the foot soldiers to prepare to receive the attack. He tells them to stop the arrows, as they do not want to injure their comrades by accident. Finally, the foot soldiers from both sides clash, and they fight to the death. Meanwhile, Zhu Xiyang tells himself that he needs to find a chance to kill a few more enemies so that he can obtain more experience points. On the battlefield, General Zhang Fu's subordinate almost dies in an encounter with a fierce Yuan soldier, but Zhu Xiyang saves him. This earns Zhu Xiyang with the necessary XP to level up, promoting him to level 3. As he gets hyped up, he can't help but think that killing enemies and leveling up is much faster than cultivating his internal strength every day. Meanwhile, General Zhang Fu tells his subordinate to inform the Prince of Yan that the Yuan army has been tricked. However, Timer suddenly appears before Zhang Fu, swinging his spear towards him and claiming that he killed so many sons of the great Yuan dynasty over the years. General Zhang Fu dodges the attack by jumping from his course, causing Timur to lose his balance and fall to the ground. The Yuan army is furious, and they quickly gather around Timur to protect him. Meanwhile, the Ming army lifts Zhu Xiyang into the air, giving him a clear view to fire his arrows. These guys are so extra with the stunts. Zhu Xiyang suddenly releases an attack, knowing it doesn't matter how many people come, because they're all going to give him XP anyway. The arrow reaches the neck of the man standing in front of Timur, easily killing him. Timur, noticing that the enemy is gaining the upper hand, quickly gets on his course and urges the others to fall back. Meanwhile, some soldiers assist General Zhang Fu, but he tells them not to worry about him and chase Timur. If he successfully escapes, the consequences will be disastrous. However, one of the soldiers comments that Beiyuan horses are really fast, and it would be impossible to catch them. At this point, they can only rely on their archers. One soldier worries that the archers won't be able to hit the survivors as they're running too fast. Out of nowhere, an arrow pierces the neck of a Yuan soldier, shocking the Ming army. They wonder who is this mysteriously killed person in the archer squad. Meanwhile, Zhu Xiyang smiles as he gets ready to shoot, thinking that even the Beiyuan Great General Timer is nothing but an XP bag that only knows how to run. Suddenly, an arrow grazes Timer's arm, yet it doesn't fully pierce into him. He curses the mysterious archer, but then another arrow hits him, causing him to fall off his course and cough out blood upon impact. General Zhang Fu can barely believe it. The enemy's commander is dead. Seeing this, General Zhang Fu calls upon the Beiyuan army, urging them to surrender now that their commander is dead. If they follow, they will be spared. Meanwhile, the Yuan army falters at the sight of their dead general's body and arrows sticking out of his back. Confirming that Timur is dead, the remaining survivors immediately run towards the forest, desperate to escape. The archer squad chases after them, but this only looks ridiculous to Zhu Xiyang. Archers have short legs, so chasing after the survivors isn't their specialty. However, he chooses not to stress himself out because this is only his first battle. His rewards are already considered good enough anyway. Just then, Zhu Xiyang tasks the system to calculate the rewards. The system informs him that he has killed 46 enemies, which equates to 230 XP. The second kill count is 36, earning him another 18 points worth of XP. Because he killed the enemy's great general, he also obtained 100 extra rewards and a horse riding technique book. Additionally, he receives a yellow rank mid-grade martial arts book named 8 Extremities Fist for completing his first kill mission. With a smile, Zhu Xiyang accepts his reward. Truly, killing enemies to level up is the best path to becoming stronger. Zhu Xiyang immediately equips the horse riding technique and the 8 Extremities Fist. The 8 Extremities Fist perfectly compensates for Zhu Xiyang's shortcomings in close combat, and the horse riding technique addresses his short legs. Both martial arts skills are highly suitable for him. As Zhu Xiyang considers the capabilities of his data-constructed body, he realizes he can directly learn martial arts without limits on leveling up from executing enemies. He then wonders if he might become immortal at level 80 or 90. With determination, he thinks of Johnner, and he hopes that she can wait for him until he's ready. In the recent battle, the Ming army decimates the Beiyuan soldiers, killing 8,800 and capturing 11,200. With the death of their commander, Timer, the Beiyuan army at the border town is utterly defeated. Meanwhile, General Zhang Fu inquires about their casualties, and a soldier reports that approximately 3,300 Ming soldiers died, with around 2,200 injured. Hearing this, Zhang Fu reflects on their victory, noting that despite the enemy's threefold manpower, they maintain the prestige of the Ming army. Just then, the soldier reports a peculiar discovery. Many of the enemy corpses were pierced through the neck with a single arrow. 76 corpses were pierced through the neck, and they seem to have been killed by the same person. General Timer also faced the same death as his comrades. The soldier continues, revealing that most of the arrows belong to a minor flag bearer, Zhu Xiyang from the first camp of the archer squad. As the soldier hands the arrow, General Zhang Fu realizes that Zhu Xiyang saved his life. He remembers that the young man refused to become his personal guard, and he chose to go to the archer squad. However, his arrow actually saved his life, making him think that even a willow that's planted accidentally grows. Suddenly, the soldier asks how they're going to calculate the kills of the guests, and Zhang Fu decides that the precise archery skill evident in the throat-piercing shots warrants credit to Zhu Xiang. As for the evaluation of the merits of his guests, he can handle it himself. Just then, Prince Zhu Di arrives, expressing relief and admiration for Zhang Fu's triumph, despite being trapped in an ambush. General Zhang Fu immediately kneels in respect, but Prince Zhu Di tells him to rise because he hasn't disgraced his father's prestige. The prince is impressed that Zhang Fu managed to defeat the 30,000-strong Beiyuan army with just 10,000 men. However, Zhang Fu humbly attributes the victory to Zhu Xiang, a 16-year-old sharpshooter. Prince Zhu Di is taken aback, reminded of his late nephew Xiang Ying, who would also be 16. And just like that, you got your plot twist. Folks, we totally didn't see that coming. Distracted momentarily by his thoughts, he dismisses the coincidence, having seen his nephew's burial himself. There is no way that a dead person can come back to life. Suddenly, the prince decrees that Zhu Xiang's exceptional service deserves promotion to an officer with a 7th grade salary, and Zhang Fu agrees to follow the prince's orders. Meanwhile, Officer Qian expresses gratitude to Zhu Xiang for his bandaging skills, which he learned on the spot by observing others. Suddenly, a bunch of men approach Zhu Xiang with tough looks on their faces. Out of nowhere, the men kneel in front of Zhu Xiang, thanking him for his life-saving grace. I guess he's a saint now. Zhu Xiang quickly urges the men to get up, reminding them that there's no need to honor him because he's only doing his job. Officer Zhang Qian, one of the men who are kneeling, argues that Zhu Xiang went above and beyond to save them, and they can't thank him enough. Just then, General Zhang Fu appears, claiming that Zhu Xiang truly has a great sense of responsibility, and he doesn't disappoint. Upon seeing the general, everyone immediately shows him some respect. Zhang Fu then reveals to everyone that on the battlefield, he was surrounded by General Timer's personal guards. If not for Zhu Xiang, who executed the enemies, broke their encirclement, and killed General Timer with only 3 arrows, Zhang Fu might have lost his life. Moreover, Zhang Fu states that Zhu Xiang not only saved many soldiers' lives, but also executed 76 enemies and killed the enemy's main commander, making him the biggest contributor in that battle. He adds that the reason for Zhang Fu's visit, beyond expressing gratitude, is to reward Zhu Xiang under the orders of the Prince of Yan. He then instructs Zhu Xiang to take his orders, announcing that Zhu Xiang will be promoted to an officer with a 7th grade salary for his remarkable contributions. Without hesitation, Zhu Xiang immediately accepts his new duties, because who doesn't want a promotion? Zhang Fu hands Zhu Xiang his new uniform and a sword, telling him that it's part of the prince's appreciation. Just then, the system congratulates Zhu Xiang for being promoted to main flag bearer and rewards him with 1,000 gold. Since Zhu Xiang is promoted to deputy officer, he also receives a yellow rank mid-grade martial skill called the Violent Blade Dance. The system describes the skill as formidable and domineering, effective against multiple enemies. Additionally, Zhu Xiang is rewarded with a bottle of yellow rank mid-grade minor restoration pills. Reflecting on his rapid rise and new rewards, Zhu Xiang considers them not bad, but still far from what he needs to be worthy of Jin. He vows to fulfill his promise to his beloved and pave his way with the severed heads of the Beiyuan army. If he achieves that, no government officials will ever belittle him. Meanwhile, Xu Zhengshou informs his second brother that the spy he sent to Beiping has sent an urgent report. Xu Zhengshou notes that Zhu Xiang has recently performed a great meritorious service and has been promoted to a 7th grade officer by the Prince of Yan. Xu Yingshu acknowledges Zhu Xiang's capabilities, but Xu Zhengshou angrily asks if Zhu Xiang could truly climb up through military merits. Xu Yingshu replies with an unfazed look, saying that the battlefield is dangerous and Zhu Xiang's luck will eventually run out. Even if Zhu Xiang's luck defies the heavens, it will only take a single letter to the Prince of Yan to eliminate a nameless kid with a lowly status. Xu Yingshu claims that the situation is as simple as flipping his palms. Xu Zhengshou laughs at the thought, agreeing that the Prince of Yan would not refuse them over a mere merchant, and that they have nothing to worry about. With this, Xu Yingshu tells his brother to put his remaining brain cells to use the next time he encounters a problem. He reminds him to stop being flustered for no reason and stay calm. Just then, Xu Yingshu realizes that he hasn't seen his little sister for a while, making him wonder what she's doing. Xu Zhengshou comments that he didn't let her out these few days, but she's probably still angry. He told Mi Yao Yun to go and accompany her, so she should be fine. Meanwhile, Jean whose real name is Mi Yao Jin, recalls her sister telling her that even though their dad is gone, she still has her big brothers and sister to rely on. This lady, who is returning to Beiping, assures her that she can come to her if she has any worries in the future. Mi Yao Yun suddenly tells Jean that it is still Her Highness who cares about her, unlike her second and fourth brothers, who don't allow her to go anywhere. The Lord Duke has also been busy recently, and Mi Yao Yun feels pity for Jean. However, Jean is lost in her own thoughts, and she wonders how Zhu Xiang is doing. Just then, Jean suddenly feels something strange in her body, making her nauseous. Mi Yao Yun immediately asks if she ate something bad, but Jean wonders if she could be pregnant with Zhu Xiang's child. Homeboy really left a souvenir. Meanwhile, at the Beiyuan border city camp, a bunch of men gather in a meeting. One man informs the minister that the Ming army is so formidable that they cannot face them head-on. Another man supports this thought, adding that even General Timer was defeated, so their small border city wouldn't be able to defend itself. One man adds that during the Battle of Burr Lake, they were severely injured and suffered great losses. With the Ming army's growing military prowess, it would be even more difficult to oppose them. The Beiyuan Prime Minister Wang Baobao responds by saying he understands their concerns, but asks if they have considered the consequences. The Great Wall is steep, and once they give up the city within it, it would be nearly impossible to re-enter Zhongyuan. He adds that the number of civilians within Zhongyuan is 100 times more than that of the grasslands. And the longer they rest, the greater the difference in military prowess. Therefore, they must fight and force the Ming army to retreat, to instill fear in their hearts, preventing them from attempting to retake the lands of Yanyun through military force forever, as the Song dynasty did. Wang Baobao asserts that only by doing this can they restore the awe-inspiring Great Yuan. Furiously, he declares that anyone proposing to retreat again would share the same fate as the table he just smashed. Suddenly, he asks where the vanguard of the Ming army is. Meanwhile, Zhu Xiang, staring at the Beiyuan kingdom, declares that he is there to retrieve the head of the legendary Beiyuan Prime Minister, Wang Baobao. He addresses his fellow soldiers, stating that their archer squad's first camp started the campaign with 1,120 people, of which 265 died in battle and 370 were injured. Both their original officers also died in battle, and Zhu Xiang is their new officer, and he is highly regarded by the general. He pledges to take on that responsibility, leading from the front of the archer squad's first camp. He claims that he will prioritize executing enemies and never retreating. Additionally, Zhu Xiang tells them that if he ever steps back, they can raise their bows and execute him. Bros being extra, while listening to his pep talk, the men are stunned by this declaration. According to Zhu Xiang, only by exterminating the Beiyuan court can they end the war, so the evildoers must be vanquished immediately. Overhearing Zhu Xiang's speech, a man beside General Zhang Fu comments that he didn't expect this kid to have exceptional leadership skills, along with being a good archer. This makes him wonder if the young man is a genius. General Zhang Fu comments that an amazing character has appeared in their Beiping army, and after their extermination of Beiyuan, he will recommend him to His Highness Prince of Yan. He claims that such talent mustn't be buried. Just then, General Zhang Fu tells a soldier to pass down the order that they will rest for 2 days. After that, they will attack the city. 2 days later, the Ming army begins attacking Beiyuan City. While the city is engulfed in chaos, Prince Zhu Di and his trusted men watch from an overlooking cliff. A man on the left informs the prince that the resistance from Beiyuan is extremely fierce, and their army is suffering great losses. General Zhang Fu mentions that after their vanguard executed Timer, all the chancellors of Yuan's court wanted to retreat, but Wang Baobao was the only one who insisted on fighting back. Prince Zhu Di finds this favorable, declaring that their great Ming army will crush Wang Baobao head-on. Suddenly, he announces to the soldiers that he will establish deeds of great reward right there. The first person will be promoted to 1 rank and rewarded 100 gold. And the person who can bring Wang Baobao's head will be promoted to 3 ranks and rewarded 1,000 gold. On top of that, their military exploits will be presented to His Majesty. Hearing the prince's announcement, Zhu Xiang tells himself that he must get the coveted prize to himself. Despite Zhu Xiang's determination to gain more ranks It's a pity that he's from the archer squad. He can't just rush towards the city walls. If he could, he might have a chance to get promoted by 4 ranks. He can only frown at the idea that his success is due to the archer squad, but his failure is also due to the archer squad. On the other hand, General Zhang Yu catches a glimpse of Zhu Xiyang, the young man that his son mentioned. He's the one who retrieved the head of Timer. All of a sudden, Zhang Fu speaks to the prince, expressing his willingness to be the vanguard, along with his subordinates. Prince Zhu Di asks General Zhang Yu what he thinks, and Zhang Yu acknowledges his son's heart to serve the country and expresses gratitude, but he has a presumptuous request. He hopes Prince Zhu Di can insert Officer Zhu Xiyang of the archer squad's first camp into the vanguard. Shortly after, Zhang Fu informs his men that the prince has looked upon them favorably, and in this battle, they will be the vanguard. He then adds that in the previous battle, they severely injured the Yuan army, and in today's battle, they will be the ones breaking through the city. On the other hand, Zhu Xiyang smiles to himself, thinking that a siege is the home field for foot soldiers, and he doesn't expect to have the chance to join the vanguard. It seems like the chance to get the promotion to 4 ranks is just around the corner. General Zhang Fu declares that for the siege, their foot soldiers will go into battle, ordering everyone to follow him and break through the city. The trumpet suddenly blows, and the soldiers of the Great Ming immediately charge in Zhang Fu's command. As he leads the attack, he orders them to take down the city gate and assures them they will spend the night in the city. Meanwhile, a Yuan soldier commands his men to release the arrows and not allow the Ming soldiers to get near the walls. On the other hand, Zhang Fu commands his subordinates to raise their shields and never stop. The Great Ming soldiers manage to reach the wall of their enemy, and some instantly climb up the ladder. Zhu Xiyang is among those who climb the ladder, but he almost gets pierced by a Yuan soldier's spear. He manages to dodge the attack, and he grabs the spear and stabs it into the wall. He then uses the spear to jump very high to the other side of the wall, stunning his opponents. He just pulled a ninja move and left them gagged. Upon landing, the Yuan soldiers are shocked to see him, wondering how he even got up there. With a cold look, Zhu Xiyang only tells them to prepare to die. On the other side, General Zhang Yu tells Prince Zhu Di to look at Zhu Xiyang, who is already up on the walls. This means that the merits of being the first to climb up the walls definitely belong to him now. With a proud look, Prince Zhu Di acknowledges that Zhu Xiyang is indeed a valiant officer. He then claims that a mere officer position is a waste of his talent. Back on the battlefield, Zhu Xiyang says that the men are just in time to help him test out his new blade skill. The blade is the ancestor of all weapons, and it has always been suitable for the battlefield. Just then, Zhu Xiyang begins the fight, slashing the Yuan soldiers without mercy. As he continues the fight, Zhu Xiyang remarks that the violent blade dance is formidable and domineering, an imposing skill that can fight against multiple enemies at once. He thinks to himself that he has to quickly execute the enemies and free up space for his comrades to climb up. As he finishes slaying the Yuan soldiers on the wall, he dares the others to come forward and face him. Right away, General Zhang Fu orders the soldiers to climb up and assist Zhu Xiyang. The men instantly follow his order, climbing fiercely to face the enemy. However, General Zhang Fu gets hit in the chest, and the opponents notice. The chief of the enemy quickly commands his men to take that chance and shoot General Zhang Fu dead. In Zhang Fu's mind, he is done for. But surprisingly, Zhu Xiyang suddenly appears in front of him and manages to save his life again. Zhu Xiyang urges a nearby soldier to bring the general back to camp, but Zhang Fu stops him. He claims that he will not die in peace if they don't take down the city gate, so he tells Zhu Xiyang to lead their brothers in doing so. However, Zhu Xiyang only reassures the general that he will sleep in Wang Baobao's bed by nightfall. After this, Zhu Xiyang leads the men to overtake the city. Just then, a soldier beside him reveals that there are a few Yuan army archers at the city gate tower, who are difficult to deal with and have already injured quite a few of their brothers, preventing them from charging forward. Hearing this, Zhu Xiyang orders them to retreat and leave the matter at him. In the blink of an eye, Zhu Xiyang simultaneously projects multiple arrows with his bare hands, piercing the Yuan archers by the neck. The Ming soldiers are amazed by his precision, and he didn't even use a bow. One soldier remarks that with Zhu Xiyang around, they don't even have to worry about not being able to take down the city gate. Witnessing the ongoing battle, Prince Zhu Di steals the drumsticks from one of his soldiers, claiming that he will personally at the drums for Zhu Xiyang. Someone's fanboying. Finally, the vanguard breaks through the city gates, and Zhu Xiyang immediately notifies his comrades of this. While raising their banner, he urges his brothers to kill everyone and take down the city. Meanwhile, Wang Baobao refuses to back down, and he personally leads his men to battle. He tells the great sons of Yuan that their country and tribe are at stake, but they will battle through death together, even through life and death. He claims that they will force the Ming army to retreat, as the world will remain in the hands of the great Yuan. Meanwhile, Zhu Xiyang catches a glimpse of Wang Baobao, and he tells himself that he can't let the final pillar of Bei Yuan escape, because they might suffer great losses. Zhu Xiyang believes that he first has to capture the king if he intends to catch the thieves. Determined to succeed, Zhu Xiyang kills the soldiers surrounding Wang Baobao, piercing each of them with an arrow to the neck. Furious, Wang Baobao demands to know who this mysterious archer is. Zhu Xiyang quickly swings his sword in response, claiming that he's the one who will take his head. As expected, Wang Baobao deflects the attack with his sword, commending Zhu Xiyang's strength, but claiming that it's not enough to defeat him. He then says that the Great Yuan had the Ming dynasty under their feet 100 years ago, and they will meet the same fate on that day. Just then, Wang Baobao swings his sword, but Zhu Xiyang narrowly dodges it. Zhu Xiyang replies with an attack, saying that the Great Ming isn't like the weak Song dynasty, so Wang Baobao shouldn't think about preying on the weak of the Central Plains. Out of nowhere, 2 Yuan soldiers appear behind Zhu Xiyang, simultaneously attacking him. Zhu Xiyang catches their blade with him, and the 2 soldiers immediately urge their minister to take the opportunity to kill this Ming dog. However, Zhu Xiyang showcases some fancy footwork, enabling him to escape Wang Baobao's attack, while also battling the 2 soldiers. As the 2 soldiers meet their death at the hands of Zhu Xiyang, Wang Baobao realizes that this young man is too strong, and he can't face him head-on. With this, he quickly escapes to ask for assistance. However, Wang Baobao runs into a Ming soldier, and he is immediately subdued. The soldier signals Zhu Xiyang to kill Wang Baobao, and he quickly jumps into action. Within a split second, Wang Baobao's head comes flying off, the look of shock still frozen in his face. Just then, Zhu Xiyang grabs the enemy's head, raising it for everyone to see. He claims that he has killed Wang Baobao, and if the rest of the Yuan soldiers don't surrender, they will be killed without mercy. The survivors can barely believe that the minister is dead, leaving them with no choice but to drop their weapons and surrender. Zhu Xiyang immediately basks in glory, declaring to the men that they won the battle. The rest of the Ming soldiers lift him into the air, cheering that the great Ming is formidable, just like Zhu Xiyang. A few hours later, soldiers praised Zhu Xiyang for his incredible skills. They had never fought to their heart's content in a war like that. Another soldier remarks that after this battle, Zhu Xiyang will surely be promoted by 4 ranks. With such a promotion speed, Zhu Xiyang is definitely the first in the Ming dynasty to do this. Elsewhere, Prince Judi acknowledges Zhu Xiyang's valiant actions in shooting and executing General Timer and slaying Wang Baobao. He declares that Zhu Xiyang will be promoted by 4 ranks, becoming a garrison commander, receiving a 5th grade salary, leading 10,000 soldiers, and being rewarded with 100 gold and 100 bolts of silk. Damn, this dude is God's favorite. Zhu Xiyang thanks Prince Judi, but he requests that the additional rewards go to the comrade who held off Wang Baobao, giving him the chance to strike. Without second thoughts, the prince immediately approves Zhu Xiyang's request. As the young man leaves, Prince Judi commends Zhu Xiyang for being unafraid of death and untempted by wealth. Surely, the great Ming will have another unparalleled famous general. Meanwhile, the system congratulates Zhu Xiyang for getting promoted to 1,000-men deputy commander and rewards him with 10 bottles of premium healing medicine. Additionally, the system congratulates him for being promoted to 1,000-men commander, rewarding him with 3 skill points, a flintlock rifle blueprint, and the Dragon Elephant Prajna Arts first volume. Zhu Xiyang also obtains the title of Garrison War General, which doubles his subordinate soldiers' battle strength and morale, and grants him 17% of the XP from enemies killed by his subordinate soldiers. Zhu Xiyang gets excited by the title's heaven-defying benefits, knowing that the army he leads will be at least twice as strong compared to others. If he also gets a share of XP from the enemies they kill, he will level up even faster. Without wasting a second, Zhu Xiyang commands the system to learn Dragon Elephant Prajna Arts. As a result, the city walls crumble, causing the men to think that they're being attacked with cannons. Meanwhile, Zhu Xiyang comments that the dragon elephant Prajan arts is truly powerful. Just then, he realizes that he will probably be riding a horse in future battles, because he's a garrison commander now. With that in mind, he decides to maximize his horse riding technique. 3 days later, Prince Zhu gathers all the generals for an important meeting. He explains that Beiyuan no longer has a tenable defense position within the Central Plains now that the border city has been taken. He believes that this is the time for them to follow up on their victory and continue to attack. However, he wants to know what the generals think about this. One general comments that since Wang Baobao is dead, it's just a life and death struggle left for the remaining Beiyuan soldiers. If they attack now, they might go through a fierce battle. Just then, Zhu Xiyang claims that he is willing to lead his army as vanguard to chase after Beiyuan's remnant soldiers. Curious and surprised by his statement, the prince asks if he isn't afraid of the Yuan army's retaliation as a trapped beast. Zhu Xiyang replies that he doesn't fear the fierce battle, and if a trapped beast wants to fight, he will pluck out its teeth. Meanwhile, Xu Zhengshou informs his eldest brother of a world-shaking scandal, but he is only told to shut his mouth. Xu Zhengshou desperately asks what they should do, while Xu Yingshu adds that it's already been 5 or 6 months since their little sister got pregnant, which means it's too late for an abortion. Just then, Xu Yingshu asks if they're really going to let their little sister give birth to a lowly merchant's spawn. Xu Huaizu, the eldest son, replies that this matter cannot be spread, and anyone in the manor who speaks about it will be killed without mercy. He also demands that Zhu Xiyang be brought in front of him because he wants to meet the man. Elsewhere, a soldier reports to Zhu Xiyang that the remaining enemy soldiers in the city have been eliminated, confirming that Beiping is theirs. While dismantling the Yuan banner, Zhu Xiyang tells his men that it's been 456 years since Shi Jingtang ceded the 16 prefectures of Yanyun to Yilu Di Guang. However, on that day, the 16 prefectures of Yanyun returned back to Zhongyuan. Just then, Zhu Xiyang sets fire to the flag, claiming that this is the result of all the great Ming warriors' collaboration. He adds that their contributions will be recorded in the annals of history. All the descendants of the Fiery Emperor and Yellow Emperor will praise their achievements, and they will become the glory of their future generations. Motivated by Zhu Xiyang's inspiring words, the soldiers cheer together. Zhu Xiyang continues to rally them, claiming that the Great Ming is invincible. Meanwhile, Prince Zhu Di meets with his generals to assess their current victory. One general comments that Zhu Xiyang actually conquered all the Beiyuan cities within the mountain pass, and he only did all that in 3 months. Prince Zhu Di adds that 6 cities have been conquered, 8,000 enemies killed, and 5,000 enemies have been captured. Such military accomplishments aren't inferior even when they are compared to his father-in-law or the Prince of Kaiping. One general adds that he's lucky he was born early, or else all his military accomplishments with his majesty would have been snatched by Zhu Xiyang. He also heard that after Zhu Xiyang took over the First Army's battle strength greatly increased, far surpassing other armies. This makes him wonder how Zhu Xiyang made all this possible. Prince Zhu Di comments that they have completed their goal for this northern expedition. Now, he wants to meet up with Zhu Xiyang and personally host a banquet for him. Just then, a soldier reports that Zhu Xiyang has led his army to chase after the remnant soldiers of Beiyuan. Zhu Xiyang also wants the prince to know that as long as a ceasefire order hasn't been given, the battle hasn't come to an end. However, he will do his best to completely eliminate future trouble as an accomplishment for the Imperial court. Hearing this, General Zhang Fu says that Beiyuan might have lost the cities within the pass, but it still has tens of thousands of cavalry. No one can fight them on an equal footing, which means it will be disadvantageous for Zhu Xiyang and his infantry. General Zhang Yu adds that Zhu Xiyang is still too young, so they shouldn't talk about eliminating future troubles, as it will be difficult for him to even come back if he goes there. Prince Zhu Di agrees, realizing that this kid is getting full of himself after winning a few battles. He reckons that it might be good to make him suffer a little. Is this guy bipolar or something? However, suffering is one thing, and Zhu Xiyang is their greatest contributor whom they cannot lose. Just then, the prince turns to General Zhang Yu, telling him to lead 10,000 cavalries to rescue them. He also tells the general to bring back Zhu Xiyang alive. With this, General Zhang Yu bows to the prince and completes the task. Meanwhile, a soldier informs Zhu Xiyang that all the guest commanders have arrived. and he asks for his orders. Zhu Xiyang then tells his soldiers that they have taken down Beiping, making them complete their goal for the northern expedition. However, as long as the prince doesn't order a ceasefire, the battle isn't over. Just then, a soldier asks for Zhu Xiyang's personal thoughts on the matter, since they are all brothers who are risking their lives together. The others are also eager to hear his thoughts, so Zhu Xiyang shares that he intends to rise out of the Great Wall, attack the Beiyuan Imperial court directly, and retrieve the head of Beiyuan's fake emperor. He then asks the soldiers if they are daring enough to accompany him. That night, Zhu Xiyang leads his men to the mountain pass. As they face the city gates, the enemy guards talk about the recent battle. One says that the troops that came today are from Zhuo, and the only city left within the pass is Dadu. Dadu is well fortified, and the Ming army will not be able to take it down. Just then, they spot a group of Yuan soldiers approaching the gate, and they wonder if it's the Ming army. Just then, Zhu Xiyang, dressed as an injured Yuan soldier carrying a flag, informs the guards that they are from Dadu, and they intend to enter. The guard argues that Dadu is impregnable, and the Ming army can't take it down that quickly. However, Zhu Xiyang only curses him, saying that he doesn't know anything about fighting the Ming soldiers. He then demands for the gates to be opened. If anything happens to his injured brothers, he will report the guard to the Dharam Kakshi. Suddenly, the gates open, allowing Zhu Xiyang and his men to enter. As soon as they get inside, Zhu Xiyang commands his brothers to take down the mountain pass. The Ming soldiers immediately jump into action, slashing the Yuan soldiers' throats one by one. One Yuan soldier comments that they are done for, as they actually let the Ming army slip from under their noses. They wonder what they should do, and they decide to light the beacon. However, before they can do anything, Zhu Xiyang kills them with his arrows, laughing at the idea of them wanting to notify the others. Later on, a soldier reports to Zhu Xiyang that the defenders have been eliminated and the mountain pass is theirs. The soldier then commends Zhu Xiyang for his plan of disguising themselves as Yuan soldiers, which allowed them to complete their goal without casualties. However, Zhu Xiyang says it's a commonly used plan and the Yuan army was just careless. He then tells the soldier to rest for the night along with the others. He also asks him to leave behind 500 soldiers to defend the mountain pass, while the rest will follow him to the prairie tomorrow. When the soldier leaves, Zhu Xiyang checks the system. It's been 3 months of battle, and he is now level 10. His internal strength is also at the acquired realm, allowing him to step into the innate realm at any time. Just then, he asks the system about the effects of an innate realm, and it replies that external force will be converted to internal force. Internal force can be discharged, and he will be able to force his way out even if he's surrounded by tens of thousands of soldiers. This relieves Zhu Xiyang as he doesn't have to worry about his own safety anymore. With only 600 XP to go, he's eager to take down the Beiyuan Imperial court so he can be promoted to the innate realm. The following day, Zhu Xiyang leads his men to the Beiyuan Imperial court as they peer on their target through a nearby mountain. A soldier tells Zhu Xiyang that the Imperial court is heavily fortified and that attacking hastily might make the situation go awry. However, Zhu Xiyang reveals that he doesn't intend to challenge the enemies face-to-face. He claims that they must be more cunning if they intend to win. With a menacing smile, Zhu Xiyang suddenly takes out a bottle of oil. Zhu Xiyang and his men wait until nightfall to strike, seeking the perfect moment. He informs his troops about the sentries patrolling the area and the vigilant guards on the watchtower, making it almost impossible to sneak in unnoticed. He explains that in all the tribes they have conquered, the leaders' tents are always positioned at the center of the camp, with lower-ranked individuals' tents situated further out. Zhu Xiyang deduces that the fake emperor must be in the central tent. To deal with the Imperial court's strict precautions, they plan to first create chaos and then follow through with their strategy. Meanwhile, Kan Yisuder, Beiyuan's supreme leader, is seething with disappointment and rage. He smashes a glass of water on the ground, declaring that their ancestors ruled the prairie for thousands of years. The Zhan Yuan army used to engage them in battles, but they could leave at will, always retaining the initiative. Now, the Ming soldiers are devastating the tribes within the prairie, and his men can't even locate the enemy. Enraged, Kan Yisuder claims that the enemy is defying the gods and expresses his deep disappointment in his own men. When the prime minister was alive, he was always accused of misconduct. Now that he has died defending his country, it's ironic that these useless men are still alive. At that moment, a general urges Kan Yisuder to calm down. explaining that they have already sent multiple teams to trace the Ming army. Suddenly, a man bursts into the tent, announcing that the Ming army has set fires everywhere. Outside, a fierce battle rages as the Ming soldiers throw bottles of oil into the tent and set them alight. Meanwhile, Zhu Xiyang instructs Chen Chuan to take 5,000 men, kill as many enemies as possible, and then retreat to lure the Ming forces away. He reminds Chuan to cause a big commotion, while the rest stay inside the camp ready for an ambush. The plan commences, and the Ming army wreaks havoc, prompting the Yuan soldiers to chase after them and fall into the trap. Meanwhile, Zhu Xiyang leads a group to pursue Kan Yi Suitor. As he fights his way through, he earns multiple experience points for killing common soldiers and a few commanders. However, as he delves deeper into the camp, he encounters a group of Yuan soldiers setting up a barricade. Zhu Xiyang quickly jumps from his course, swinging his sword and killing all the soldiers in his way. He destroys the barricade, allowing his fellow soldiers to pass through. As Zhu Xiyang continues to fight, he feels his external strength moving and gathering towards his dantian. Meanwhile, Khan asks one of his generals about the situation outside, wondering if the Ming army has retreated. The general replies that there's nothing to worry about, as the sons of the great Yuan are invincible. Just then, a soldier enters the vicinity, urging Khan to retreat from the Imperial court immediately. However, before the soldier can even finish what he's saying, a sword suddenly pierces through his chest. Suddenly, Zhu Xiyang appears, now at level 11 and in the innate realm. Upon seeing Zhu Xiyang, Khan quickly tells his men to protect him and then retreat. However, Zhu Xiyang kills the men in an instant, leaving Khan as the only survivor. Khan pleads for his life, and he even offers Zhu Xiyang various riches. Zhu Xiyang, on the other hand, doesn't spare a second to kill him with his blade, as he slices Khan's head clean. The system congratulates him for killing the Baiyuan Emperor, earning him 200 XP. He also receives 500 low-grade spirit stones, a map of the Imperial Jade Seal, a yellow-rank high-grade martial skill, and an absolute slash skill. The night continues with a lot of bloodshed, and by morning, a soldier informs Zhu Xiyang that the direction of the Baiyuan Imperial court is 3 miles away. They also discovered a huge group of Yuan army. Pissed, Zhu Xiyang says that there's really no end to this enemy. It looks like after they killed the emperor, if they don't chase after the Ming army, then they won't be able to report back to the higher-ups. Shortly after, Zhu Xiyang sets fire to the camp, and he asks his men to join him in another fight in obliterating the Yuan army. Without a doubt, all the men agree to follow Zhu Xiyang, and Sir Zhu Xiyang leads his cavalry past the Great Wall, slashing their way into the northern borders. They successfully retaliate against the Yuan army chasing them, killing their leader, Yuan General Borgu, after having already killed the Baiyuan Emperor. Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang hears about Zhu Xiyang's incredible feat of leading 6,000 cavalry through a Great Wall mountain pass, guarded by 10,000 Yuan soldiers. His eldest son, Zhu Biyao, confirms this, adding that despite being only 17 and somewhat rash, Zhu Xiyang is a talented general. Zhu Biyao asserts that with proper nurturing, Zhu Xiyang will undoubtedly become a great general for the Great Ming. Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang agrees and wishes to confer and reward the young man immediately. Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang also considers the war to be nearing its end and wants Zhu Biyao to personally supervise the Ministry of Revenue and the Ministry of War in distributing pensions. He emphasizes that the soldiers have sacrificed much and must not be disappointed. Zhu Biyao is to oversee matters within the imperial court, while Lao Si will supervise outside. The young prince honors his father's commands and excuses himself to begin his tasks. As he walks away, the emperor sighs, thinking that all of his efforts are to ensure Zhu Biyao can rule in peace after his retirement.